Critical knowledge, explosive, really. Folks, there's two parts to this. First, I just want to get out of the way. Our petition that we've assembled, there's going to be changes. We have a tentative date. We've already secured that one day. I let the other one go. Donald J. Trump had his wife, Melania Trump, take on that today. I looked at it. I chose not to. I'm saving it. This is better because everybody who has signed that petition, you're all going to be getting emails from me in the next 48 hours. I've got to go real quick. I'm making some amendments, so it's beautiful. That's why I asked everybody to email, so I can email all you back and secure your kosher-ness with how we're going to go forward now. And I'm going to explain the critical date and day coming. It's not published yet, but it's coming. And I want to be quick with this. I want to make some amendments, explain it all to you all privately via secured email, so each and every one of you have your say, and then we can go forward with our petition drive. I'm going to explain some changes and why, and this critical date. So it's only for folks. It's not going to be public till after everything's done and we secure Mike Waltz. Now, on to other news, and a lot of people have shared this with me. I know, too, as Blackfoot Confederacy emails me all the time, folks, from Alberta. That's Treaty 7, and, of course, the Blackfoot in USA, which is much, much different. Reserves are tremendous in size. They have businesses. They have self-determination, self-government. They're part of the Indian states of the Union, where literally most of the state is Indian reserve. And those American Indians have legitimate businesses. Those reserves look like what I would equate to Alberta small towns. No joke. No joke. And there's others, but I just want to focus on what's awakening of Treaty 7, folks, specifically the blood reserve Indians, numbered reserve Indians here in Alberta, Canada, and how brutalized they are as the second biggest reserve in Canada, with absolutely the least and worst deal. Now, I do adhere Blackfoot Confederacy, Treaty 7, which we have tremendous amount who've signed on to our petition drive, everybody. Tremendous amount. And I don't publish people's names. There's been evil doers who think they're going to lambaste me or somehow turn me into a racist. Nobody in this country has done right by First Nations like myself and the massive First Nations group I assembled in residential school genocide. We're the ones who secured China in the sponsorship of residential school genocide. That is an absolute fact, undeniable. China themselves published it on Twitter. And that's the UNSC representative, former of China. Now, Ru Kong's the new one. But Zhang Zhan did that with me publicly. That's not a particular thing the communist regime ever does. That's how successful we really were. And, of course, it was done by a team of First Peoples right across Canada. No, I'm not a First person. I just bring the education. I also had personal time in Alberta with Treaty 8 that gave us a huge sit-down. Sorry for the rest of First Nations across Canada. I only go by with who really puts out, who really gets it, and that's just how it was at the time. And in 2019, all numbered treaty Indians, all in Alberta, all met me over a 3-day period. Sure, I would have loved to do that right across Canada for everybody. I'm just a man. I do the best I can. Average guy. I don't make any big monies, but I do this for a dear Blackfoot Confederacy. Absolutely, Chief Adam Benedict from Ontario as regional chief, and his numbered and maybe named overlap treaties. I'm not sure. I haven't looked entirely at his region, to be honest. But I'm going to give the truth of the J Treaty, that I've been blocked on many First Nation groups from telling you all the truth that is the absolute truth. And I am not here to be mean. I'm here to tell the truth. And honestly, Adam Benedict, you're sporting a goatee, right? I'm going to tell you something about the United States of America. It is your country, Canada, that does not honor the J Treaty. Never has since they got the power. What do I mean by that? What I mean is there was an amendment to the Canadian Constitution where the UK stepped away and said, the Crown has been transferred to Canada, the power of Prime Minister to appoint that Crown power. Didn't remove the Crown power, but gave it to Prime Minister to appoint to whomever they see fit. Not only Governor General of Canada acting as His Majesty King Charles III, but absolutely lieutenant governors, attorney generals, on and on and on, all highest courts. It's why First Nations are so screwed. Now let me explain something. The Amendment Westminster happened in 1931. That transferred all Crown power from the UK to the Government of Canada, specifically Prime Minister, and through what are called Executive Powers Act, many more amendments before and even after Westminster gave powers of the Premier over provincial Crown titles. And what it allowed them to do was take possession of all the land in Canada. You know it as provincial and federal Crown land. It's theirs now, whomever the Canadians elect, or First Nations, if they determine to participate in election. Now, UK-USA treaties, this is very important for all First Peoples, regardless of your status, whether you're named or numbered treaty, whether you're seated or unseated, whether you're Métis or ICC, Inter-Circumferential Polar Council, Inuit Circumferential Polar Council. If that's any of those people, which is all First Peoples, you're under the Indian Act and you're at the bequest of the Canadian and provincial governments now because they've taken all your lands. That's why all your settlements are cash. They've taken over all possession of every treaty. Doesn't matter how age old. There's many. And this is what Donald J. Trump has a problem with. I know you all don't want to hear what I have to say. But again, I'm only telling you the truth, not my beliefs, not my feelings, not what I think, what's actual reality and law over all of us. And this is all for all of you. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States current, has looked at all the USA-UK treaties over Canada. The Crown of Canada is assumed. These treaties affect all of you. Namely, one of the oldest, second oldest of these treaties, there's actually 14, not currently 13, but according to Canada, there's only 13. According to USA, there's 14. And one of these US-UK treaties is called the J Treaty. Both of you are fighting about this, not just you two, but I know you two very well and I've been watching what you've been doing and what you've been saying. Understand this. USA has never dissolved any US-UK treaties over the lands known as Canada since 1867. US is much older, 1776. Mass amounts of those treaties were completed all the way up to 1876 and several years after, about 5.5 decades after. Didn't matter because it was before the amendment known as Westminster. When 1931 came, Canada took possession of all 14 of those treaties and all of your treaties too. And what did Canada do? Started systematically, not only without your representation or any kind of negotiation with any of you, they said to hell with USA too. We're going to decide for ourselves. UK's gone. That's us now. USA, who gives a crap? Forget USA. And absolutely all of you, and you know this in your souls and in your hearts, it was to hell with all of you. You know it's true. In 1952, the last UK from Westminster, 1931, in 1952, King George VI, after World War II. These are important for you First Peoples, and I'm addressing Blackfoot Confederacy, Canada, Treaty 7 Peoples, and yes, you, Regional Chief Adam Benedict, because what you're going into, you need to go look at what was called the Atlantic Charter, 1941. This is World War II treaties UK made that the government of Canada used as toilet wipe between their butt and threw out the window. They also took Russia's 1942 treaty with UK and wiped their butts with that, threw it out the window. I promise you all, the war would have been lost had King George VI with Winston Churchill not signed those treaties. Why are those treaties important? King George VI promised to decolonize all of the Commonwealth. Started with India, got into Canada, died in the middle of Canada. In an important year for all of you guys, 1952. He didn't finish protecting any of the treaties. When he was transferring that power, he died in the middle of it. And Queen Elizabeth went on to say, to hell with all of you, to hell with the World War II promises, to hell with USA, to hell with Russia. Thanks, suckers. We're going to continue on. Forget America, forget Russia, and certainly forget the First Peoples. Again, search your souls, but don't take my word for it. Read these documents, learn the truth, do a deep AI search on it now. What was things I had to work so hard to learn are now easily found just by the keywords I give you. And you should go study that stuff. So what happened in 1952? The government of Canada, officially all Governor Generals of the UK currently in power in Canada, were ended. They were immediately retired, and Canada started appointing their own Governor General, all Lieutenant Governors, Attorney Generals, all the UK Crown powers that were transferred in Westminster. Officially, all those people were terminated, and Canada began appointing their own. And the first thing they did with their new Governor General of Canada was dissolve the Jay Treaty. They did not contact the USA, did not contact the UK, didn't contact any of you. They said no American Indian will ever cross any Canadian border without an American Canada passport, because they're not American Indian citizen. They're not, even though USA says they are American Indian citizens. As of 1921, all American Indians are their own distinct citizens in America. Not Canada. They said, we have an Indian Act. Those savages will never come here. They'll never pollute our First Peoples with their truth, with their humanity, because we don't define them that way. We maintain the Indian Act. These are savages. Yeah. And now you all know, as they preach, bring your passport. That's not how it works in the United States of America for First Peoples from Canada coming over. You get the same rights as the American Indians in the United States, even though all American Indians don't get any of those rights going to Canada. They get abused. And I have video after video over many years of how First Peoples, the American Indians, are treated when they try to come to Canada. Brutalized. Brutalized like no other race of people. You don't get that when you go to the United States. But here is the kicker. The Jay Treaty is about blood quantum. Minimum 50% blood quantum. If you're claiming to be a chief or you're claiming to be an American Indian First Nation and you want the US-UK Jay Treaty that USA honors, do not show up with a treaty card, a full beard, goatee, blue eyes, green eyes, all of that, because they're going to question your blood quantum. And more than that, Americans are not like Canadians. They don't do the assimilation program. When it comes to the American Indian, they protect that blood quantum in the United States, contrary to what you're all told. And I mean, this isn't a problem when you go north. Like, I've been to the northern nations, and even when you go out west, like Treaty 7 Blood Reserve, those are First Nations. That's clearly First Nations people. When you get out east, you start to see the assimilation, the bleed off of the blood quantum. And I'm not picking on you, Adam Benedict, but you're sporting a full goatee. Your blood quantum may not make the 50%. You may only be 30 or 20 when they look at that. And if you've never been touring the American Indian states and reserves, you'll see the blood quantum. You go out west to Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, northern BC, southern BC, you're going to see blood quantum, right? And this is a problem. People claim, well, I'm Métis, right? It's like, okay, but were your parents 50-50 and now you're 1/8 because you've been married down because you got tricked by Canada, who again terminated the Jay Treaty, tricked First Peoples. Oh, do adoptions, which I've always told. You can go look to Grand Chief of Treaty 8, and you can talk to the Grand Chief. I told him, don't participate in adoptions. Don't adopt people out of race. Don't. Or you're going to lose your status. It's Canada's age-old trick. The Canadian government hates the First Peoples. They define you as non-human beings. They've always been here to destroy you. They've never honored the Jay Treaty since 1956, and they brutalize every American Indian at the border. Only you get those rights in USA. And remember, with illegal immigration, they're trained on 50% blood quantum. If you don't come out looking 50% Indian, they're gonna look at you, especially sporting a beard, full goatee, even you, regional chief. I'm sorry. That is what the treaty always was. That's what it's always been. And you're extremely lucky, Canadian First Peoples, that USA is decent, because Canada is grossly indecent. Always has, always will be. Folks, this is the greatest truth for First Peoples. If you're a First Nations person, share, share, share. I'll share it in as many of those groups as I can, as well as American groups. Trump groups, yeah, that's right. And I'm going to leave all First Peoples with this. All chiefs. What you want, in my opinion, is to be contacting the White House and negotiating the other 13 land and water treaties, UK, USA over Canada. You stand to win big time. So big, in fact, Canada would never, ever, ever allow it. But you can do this, and I recommend doing that. Start negotiating with the White House over those treaties. I want to do a big presentation on this stuff. I already have. I've already shown you Canada, the 51st state, but there's a whole numbered, named, unceded, ceded, Métis, and Inuit side to this, where you stand to win big time in the what are called provincial and federal crown lands, especially over NATO and NORAD. Canada's going down. You don't need to go down with them. You don't. You don't. You can turn on the crown. And contrary to what you're being told, your best bet is to go negotiate with Donald J. Trump, the White House, over all those treaties, because he's presented them. He's dealing with Greenland right now on the same bullshit. And guess who's running all of that? Ottawa and Iceland. Not even Denmark. Kings, the age of kings and queens is over. And First Peoples need to take their place. You need to end the genocide. If you've never looked at what are called the Indian States of the Union, you've never seen the size and scale of those reserves, you should look at it. They have self-determination, self-government, ability to do business, harvest resources, trade freely, just like the 50 states of the Union. The biggest difference is, in Canada, you all only get Section 91 of the Constitution. Everything from 92 and up that's promised, the bulk to all the provinces, they remove from all of you entirely. If you didn't know, in the United States of America, the federal powers, sure, they're doing that for the First Peoples. But all the powers of the states themselves, the 50 states of the Union, for every First Nations group, and it's not all of them, but they're already up near 30% now in 85 years. As they've been building states, they've also been getting First Nations to codify. And all those who've codified their own constitutions, just like a state, in the same manner as statehood, as Indian nations, get all the equal powers of a state. Nations within the nations. Sovereignties found in the states, or sovereignties found in codified Indian tribes who've done that work. And that's what you need to know, because I can tell you, and the reason why Blackfoot Confederacy is so important, they've codified. You can look at 6 of the Confederacy in the United States, in Michigan, or sorry, not Michigan, I'm sorry, Montana. When you look at that, you realize, holy smokes, and there's other overlaps there too. And those reserves are massive. Can you imagine dealing with Donald J. Trump, learning to codify a constitution, making a deal, taking your place and all of that crown land provincially and federally? Because if Canada don't want to break, you need to break Canada, and you can. Because USA takes the American Indian to heart. It's everything they are. For all First Peoples, if you haven't watched the American Revolution 6-part series, the big one on PBS, you should watch episode 1. They introduce you. They introduce you in your longhouse. your confederacies. What was oh yeah, Confederate Army, Confederation. Oh yeah, federalism. How did America come up with that? Because there's only 5 in the world. Who invented it? You did. You did. One of those, which I tag here. There's more, and there's more in Eastern Canada. That's a mess. That can be fixed just with Canadian settlements. That can be fixed like this. Even for all the Iroquois Confederacy in the United States that's displaced right now, who fought for Canada, UK in that war against the United States. You can get all of that from Canada. You can all do that. Anyways, folks, that's my video. Get it out there. Share, share, share. There's lots of ways to Canada, the 51st state. First Nations who don't understand, I just gave it to you straight. Canada's the bad guy. You should know it in your souls. You should always know that in your soul. Because I promise you, America hasn't had an American Indian War since 1921. They certainly haven't had any Indian Act for over 105 years. Wake up. Don't listen to the baloney. Did you see Donald J. Trump's latest settlement in Alaska? He's not the only one. There's 2 more going on right now in the southern states. That's called State of the Union. That's called statehood. American Indian statehood. Nations within the nations. Yeah. You certainly don't get that in Canada. I can tell you that. And what stands to get settled in Canada is much bigger than what's ever happened in America. Much more is waiting for all of you than you've ever known in your lives. And remember, Canada took your political science. Canada took away your culture. America adopted all of that. That's what America is. They tell you this. It's right in the opening of the American Revolution. They introduced the American Indian and all of your scientific inventions that made America what it is. Why they're a superpower in the world today. That's your invention. You made that. Where do you think Russia learned it? How come all the federalisms are all surrounding all of your people? Where do your people come from? Oh, yeah, across from Siberia. Oh, geez. How come everyone around your people is a federalism? Did you ever ask that question? Well, America gives you that answer finally. I love that. I love that presentation. So, folks, that's the truth. It needs to get out there, especially all First Nations should know this stuff. You should. And stop with adoptions. Stop with assimilation according to Canada. Everything they're telling you is a lie. And they destroyed your treaty without any talk to any of you or your ancestors, never mind the United States or the UK. They said, okay, do the South Africa thing. Go ahead, genocide these people. It's up to all of you. And they do. That's genocide in part or in whole, whether it's culturally, physically, or spiritually. They've done it all. And they still do it. That's my video. Share, share, share. God bless. Everybody enjoy your day. Look, everybody, for emails over the next 48 hours. Please answer me when I send that. Critical, critical, critical. This key date's coming. I don't have a date yet. I just have that opening presentation. I think in the next 48 hours, like every month, everyone, they're going to release half the month's program in writing, and I'll go through. And yeah, so that's why the email thing was great. I'm going to get to all of you that way, and I need your response for the update. After it's all said and done, we're submitted, then I'll publish openly for everybody to see. Not your emails, but we'll put the list, the 1,000+ signatures, and of course the presentation. But top secret till we get it all done, and that personal email sent to all of you and it's answered. God bless. Bye now.